Welcome to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast with Tony Stabile.
There's a rowdy crowd today.
And everybody, welcome to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast right here on rowdywrestling.net and pretty much anywhere you get your pro wrestling audio goodness, be it iTunes, Downcast, Podcast, Google Play, all the places where you can go and just steal our RSS feed and have fun and listen to pro wrestling. I'm Tony Stabile, pro wrestling fan. That's the most important thing out of all of this. I think that's pretty much the only thing you should really be caring about throughout this entire show. I also dabble in commentating and managing and just all over the world. I like being involved, and I hope all of you do, whether it just be as a fan, as a performer, as you know, ring crew, whatever it could be. Thank you for continuing to make the world that we live in and the stuff that we love that much more awesome, that much more cool. And, you know, we're this time of year where I'm not going to bury the lead. I mean, listen, we're just mere weeks away from WrestleMania, and you know, clearly on this podcast, you guys have heard me flip-flop go from I'm really excited now to like kind of tempered down, like we're sort of thing, sort of feeling that I'm having lately. So I think now I'm recording this March 13th in the morning. You know, we're 3 weeks at the most away from WrestleMania. I'm at this point, I'll be honest with you, I am excited now. Now it's not just storyline excitement. Now it's just the fact that, hey, regardless of the build to WrestleMania itself, I do know that week, that Sunday, and all the events around it being NXT or independent events, you're bound to find something that you're going to enjoy, and it's probably going to be one of the highlights of the year. It is always a highlight of the year in the world of pro wrestling, not just in WWE sports entertainment. So I hope all of you do find that one thing that you're very excited for and latch on to it, whether it be you go to like all the conventions that go in and around. WWE WrestleMania this year, they're in Florida, so most of the younger guys don't have to go too far, if they're coming up from NXT, and that's something I do want to talk about. NXT, as stale as the TV show has been for the past couple of months, it's no longer my favorite wrestling show. That's kind of moved over to SmackDown, back to the mid-2000s when Paul Heyman was writing it. But the NXT TakeOver events are always awesome, regardless of what's going on. Simple, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid, and that's what the TakeOver shows go. So for me, I'm probably most excited for that for an entire night. Aside from the fact that, Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho is going to be just a killer match by itself. I do want to see the smoke and mirrors are going to play around with Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, Undertaker and Roman Reigns, and then you also have poor AJ Styles having to face, Shane McMahon, which isn't official yet, but that's where they're going unless something takes a drastic left turn. And in that case, whatever it may be, it's going to be fun. And on today's episode, I do want to talk about another element of pro wrestling. I do try to look at as much as I can aside from the mainstream stuff. And ROH, in my mind, is mainstream at this point. So they had their 15th anniversary event this past Friday night. Spoiler alert, I enjoyed it. I'm going to tell you what was cool, what was not so cool, and what we can really look into it. But before we do that, you guys got to continue supporting the podcast, not just by listening, but all of y'all got to like on Facebook, follow on Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. Leave us a comment and a rating. It really tickles Steve when you leave a rating. That grows and pushes the podcast up the rankings to get more eyes and ears on the show, helping us pay those bills and keeping the podcast 100% funny and free. So go ahead, do that everywhere, all over the interwebs. We're Rowdy Wrestling. I got really lucky in that. If you want to find Steve, it's at RockManiac00. If you want to find me, at Rowdy Wrestling #1. But also, if you want to see pictures of my dog on Twitter instead of Instagram, it's Forte Stabile, and that's how we do it. Now, as we roll into life, we're going to pay some bills by supporting the good brothers over at Heels and Faces. And when we get back from the jump, we'll be talking about ROH 15th anniversary. Check out our wonderful sponsors, heelsandfaces.com. Those good brothers are here with their pro wrestling inspired threads to make you look too sweet as a pro wrestling fan. Head on over to heelsandfaces.com, buy some shirts and apparel, and most importantly, support indie pro wrestling is what those guys do every single week when they support this podcast. Pick up the exclusive Rowdy Wrestling Podcast t-shirt only at heelsandfaces.com. All right, and we are back here on the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast, taking a look at ROH 15th Anniversary. I mean, let's just take a moment to think about that, because when I look back at the lineage of, let's say stuff like WrestleMania or Survivor Series or Royal Rumbles or even SummerSlams, those all started before I was born. Those all started before I was, could have been a wrestling fan. ROH, I remember sitting around and reading the results of the very first ROH pay-per-view. I remember, or show I should say at that point. I remember, clamoring to being able to see just bits and parts of ROH wherever I could find it. They were 30-second clips. At points, I was on the MV zone, and I was just watching music videos because I couldn't get access to the full matches. So I was able, it's like TNA, in other words, whenever they do an anniversary, except I'm not disappointed. So ROH, 15 years, holy crap, and what a wonderful way, what a wonderful story that they were able to tell with Christopher Daniels and that tournament, I can't even talk, that tournament of, from the past decade. So they had guys who had been with the company for as long a period of time as possible. And, of course, him winning and then, having to overcome obstacles and faces or mortality. Anyways, we'll get into that. The pay-per-view proper itself, I give props to NXT that they were able to do that, and ROH is always able to deliver on this. Their opening promo package, their video packages, whoever does it, they do it on a dime because it's not the greatest look quality, but the emotion that they're able to splice together from promos, the stories they're able to tell, it's just always really fantastic. And so here they were presented with the idea of, hey, tell the history of the company, and it was glorious, without trying to take anything from Bobby Roode. It was just, yeah. If you have a chance, there's like five or six little things in this pay-per-view that, regardless if you're interested in ROH, I say you should check out, and then you can see where there's actual talent out there if there isn't money. Let's put it right there and there. So the pay-per-view proper opened up Jay White defeating Kenny King in just about 10 minutes, and this is what I'm going to say. This wasn't a bad match, but it was the worst match on the card. Let that sink in. The highlight for it was just really a boring back and forth match. I really couldn't get into it, and so for me, the entire time I'm sitting there I was marking out for Colt Cabana on commentary, an entire show, Colt Cabana on commentary, playing himself and also healing whenever the story needed it to, and I felt that was so refreshing because he wasn't a heel just for the sake of being a heel. I mean, this was a dude who had likes and dislikes, and sometimes his dislikes and sometimes his likes didn't jive with what a normal, rational person would do. And I am all for it. And I'll be honest, like I said, it's weird how sometimes commentary can be so good it distracts from the match. And that's where it was. I'm sitting there and, Colt Cabana name-dropping people left and right, talking about things, and just being very intelligent. And putting aside the whole lawsuit and everything that came about it and his loyalty to Punk and so on and so forth, WWE really dropped the ball when they didn't take this guy as an announcer, because god damn, that was really, really good. Which then brought us into the ultimate spot fest of the night, or one of two, because let's put it out there, the street fight for the tag team titles was a pretty penny, if I should say. Not even a pretty penny, just pretty awesome. But the ROH TV title number one contenders match, Kazarian versus Hangman Page, Chris Sabin, Punisher Martinez, the world's most awesome wrestler Cheeseburger, and Silas Young. Once again, the first couple of matches, they only got about 10 minutes here as well, but this was your typical spot fest. It was spot after spot after spot. Cheeseburger, with the palm strike. Martinez just looking strong. That's one thing I really got to appreciate is they didn't make Martinez look like to be a bitch occasionally, or, you know, have Becky Lynch make him tap out to the disarmer, even though they're on a really great winning streak. And so I thought this was really well done. Kazarian, you know, of the addiction, or former addiction, I should say at this point, getting his shine at this point. Like, okay, he's number one contender. He looked out really good. I believe the end was him, Cheeseburger, pulling the final move, and then just him lifting Cheeseburger up because he weighs, you know, not even $150, hitting his move, and that was it. It was nice to see Kazarian and Hangman Page kind of work together, especially with what happened later on in the night. Very interesting, very cool dichotomy of what's going to go on, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen, you know, at the next shows, and the storylines that are going to build out from that. Haven't read the spoilers yet from the TV taping, so we'll see how that happens. After that, we got a top contenders match, Jay Lethal versus Bobby Fish. What more could you want? What more could you want in this match? Bobby Fish kicks your head in, and Jay Lethal just looks amazing. And you know, this is another one where I call back to the announcing and how prominent Colt Cabana was the entire time, even plugging his podcast a few times, which, you know, ever the businessman. At one point, not at one point, actually, multiple points throughout this entire match, he kept saying, Bobby Fish does Muay Thai. So that was, that for me was like, oh, come on, Cabana-isms, you know, you got to get over it. But what I did really, really, really enjoy in this match was, at one point, Bobby Fish just straight up, like, thrust kicks Jay Lethal, who falls right out of the ring, and that was had me popping huge. And then the finish, just a wonderful sequence of reversals that came after a really, really nice lethal injection from the corner. So Jay, if you should have been doing that instead of your handspring into the lethal injection, I thought that looked way cooler. But anyways, what happened here is both men reverse each other. He had already hit that, the lethal injection in the corner, but that's not the official move, so it's not enough to put him away. Jay gets up, hits his normal lethal injection. 1, 2, 3. So I guess Jay Lethal now kind of becomes de facto number one contender, but we'll see where they go with this, and that, you know, that's ROH really being smart, calling it a top contenders match as they go and have shots at the titles, if I can, you know, put it out there. After that, we had the ROH 6-man title match. The champions, the Kingdom, defeating Dalton Castle and the Boys. This match in itself wasn't all that great because the Boys have a character. They've been training, but there's just not enough experience in that ring. Dalton Castle, his intro with the multitude, the plethora of boys all around and carrying him to the ring, that was super cool. That alone is, for me, check this out. At least go check out his intro, as just oozing charisma. Dalton Castle, god damn, I want to grow up and be just like you, or Rusev. One of the two. I haven't made up my mind yet. But this match of note for me, nothing crazy happened right up until TK O'Reilly does an acai moonsault, and ROH, they run with the old school guardrails, the ones you'd see probably in Montreal or whatever big city when they do parades. That's just thin metal bars, and lo and behold, he does it, goes a little too far, and lands shin first on the guardrail. Now, I was reading them dirt sheets, and apparently he's broken through and through both the fibia and tibia. I think those are the two bones. It's been a long time since high school science or biology. So apparently he broke both bones in his leg. Gonna require surgery. TK. Ouch. Just ouch. Even the commentary stopped a moment and went, nope, that's not good. So we'll see where they go from that. That, in my mind, just watching at home, had they not almost pulled a TNA where they were kind of rushing through the replays and rushing, and naturally so. I mean, you're going to try and do... I felt like his injury in the post-match where everybody's running around to try and go help him, I don't know why it just felt hectic enough or fast enough that it didn't kill the pacing of the show. Strictly speaking, as a viewer, not putting in the fact that a man just severely hurt himself. So somehow that was able to push on through, and that way when we got to Marty Scurll defending the ROH TV title versus Lio Rush in a submission match, yeah. Not a submission match. He won it via submission. No, we had to deal with a submission match that changed halfway through a couple nights ago. Haha. But just going through my notes here, and this was this was probably the best not interesting match for me, as I'm not a big Lio Rush fan. Marty Scurll's really great, but you have to put him in there with really, really awesome guys. So in the end, they had a very, very decent, good match that went just shy of 20 minutes. If ROH is your thing and you're a ROH purist, this will tickle your fancy. Which then brings us to the Japanese style. The 3-man teams. You had the Briscoes and Bully Ray in his Bully Ray persona defeating Davey Boy Smith Jr. and War Machine. This was really great because you had, DBS Jr., not getting along with War Machine, so it was nice. Commentary constantly brought it back, as well as actions in the ring. No imagination needed to be used in this. You could tell there wasn't great communication. Sideway, in the end, the Briscoes and Bully Ray pick up the win with a 3D. Very cool to see all these guys in there. Very cool to see Bully Ray being able to use the Bully Ray name. Really fat Bubba Ray Dudley right now, though. I'm pretty sure he's bigger than when he was in WWE last time we saw him. And then we go into the ROH Tag Team Title match. This was a Las Vegas street fight. The champions, the recently debuting Hardy Brothers, and that's how they were referred to throughout the entire night. Little sidebar of news here for anybody who's not in the know. The Broken Hardys debuted in ROH last week and won the ROH Tag Team titles. And then on Friday, TNA or Impact or whatever, Anthem, goes ahead and sends letters to a bunch of the pay-per-view providers as well as ROH saying, no, we own the IP to the Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero, the Broken Hardys, and the whole gimmick, the delete, decay and all that. So, rather than just scrap it and leave them off the show, they're like, all right, well, whatever. It's still Matt and Jeff Hardy. It's their real names. So they went ahead and started doing it. And here's something that I love. By the way, the Young Bucks and Roppongi Vice were in this match. This is what I love. The Young Bucks, doing their suck it gimmick, doing their super kick stuff and all of that, and crowds going for it. And the crowd really wanted the delete stuff. So what happens here, and I know it makes Roppongi Vice look like a couple of bitches, but I tip my hat to everybody involved in this. The beginning of the match, you have the Young Bucks go face to face with the Broken Hardys. And, they do their suck it chant. Meanwhile, while they're doing that, you got Roppongi Vice that kind of flank and go around, and they're on either side of the Hardys and the Young Bucks. So the Hardys, in turn, instead of doing their motion of delete, which is essentially, hand across the chest and then out, well, Roppongi Vice get close enough, and they get chopped. So, as they do it, they chop Roppongi Vice, which is a chop. It's not a trademark thing. It's not a mannerism. It's just a straight up chop. The crowd yells delete. They get up. They do it again and back and forth. And I just thought that was a wonderful wink and nod to the crowd and understanding that, hey, we can't legally do this. So let's throw some caution to the wind here and throw some logic to the wind and do it this way. Very much appreciative of that. Good for them. In the end, the Hardys, Jeff was climbing up a ladder. Matt gimmicked a broken table that had lost some legs against the ropes. So the finish of the match didn't even happen in the middle of the ring. It happened pretty much in a corner. Matt put, I think it was Trent. Yeah, because they had to pin Trent. They put Trent on the table. Jeff goes swantons. Not even a swanton. I think he just leapfrogged or rolled over the top of the ladder. Pinned him 1, 2, 3, and when they did that, it was really cool. Very, very much of note. They went and they stole the Young Bucks Super Kick Party Championship belts, adding more championship gold to their collection now. And I thought that was really cool. Very, very, very fun. But this was the other super spot fest of the night. I mean, thumbtacks everywhere. Rocky Romero is just one crazy son of a bitch. Just insane. I mean, wow. And I was surprised that was your... there was no cooldown, as I'm used to WWE style of booking where you'd have a cooldown after that. But no, they barreled right into the main event, naturally having to take some time to pull out some promo packages and clean the ring. Now, Christopher Daniels, they cut this promo. Now, I don't know how long it was originally because there were cuts in there and there were jumps. But cuts this promo saying, like, listen, Adam Cole, you don't know this yet, but your time will come up. You have a limited amount of time. My time, a hell of a lot more limited. And then he starts to cry. And, this is one of those things where art really pulls from reality. And you can tell, hey, Christopher Daniels is getting up there in age. How much longer can you go even if you're healthy? How much longer can you go at the pace you want to go even if you're healthy? And, man, I'm a year older than Adam Cole, and I'm sitting there like, oh, God damn it, everything's coming down. And, the feels are there. I have watched Christopher Daniels. I have been on message boards in the mid-2000s, well over 10 years ago, beginning of ROH, where they were talking about the ROH roster, and Christopher Daniels was referred to as Old Man Daniels by multiple people. So even in the early 2000s, he was one of the older guys on the roster to begin with, floating with a bunch of guys 22, 23, 24. Now here he is in his 40s wrestling the guys who are still in their mid-20s. And just that promo alone, just that story alone, if they were not going to give us Christopher Daniels winning the championship, I would have rioted. I would have driven down to Vegas and lost my shit because I bought into this to no end. I was in for it, and the match we ended up getting was just so wonderful. As Daniels wouldn't go down. I mean, he gets I think it was his eyebrow just pretty much ripped off of his face as from a kick from Adam Cole, and then finally we get to the finish, where ref takes a bump because I believe he took a super kick in the corner. There's a little kerfuffle, and out comes Kazarian, who had recently turned on Christopher Daniels. So he goes and he holds Daniels. Adam Cole goes grab the ROH World title, and he's going to clock Daniels in the head, and that's going to be that. And just as he gets there, Daniels drops, and Kazarian goes, whoa, he got out. Don't hit me. And then he goes, you know what? I'm going to hit him. You hold him. Lo and behold, it was a double cross. Or triple cross at this point. Kazarian rips open his Bullet Club shirt to reveal he's in it with Christopher Daniels. Flips off Adam Cole. Adam Cole eats pretty much eats shit at this point. 3 BMEs, best moonsaults ever in a row. 1, 2, 3. And we have, in my mind, the WrestleMania 20 celebration in the middle of the ring. Confetti, streamers, just love everywhere. Hugs. They come out and they don't just hand Christopher Daniels the ROH title. They hand him the original belt as well. So he's standing there holding 2 belts, crying. The promo we cut afterwards, just wow. So in the end, if you're a WWE fan, this pay-per-view will entertain you. Not all ROH shows will entertain a WWE fan, but let me tell you, there was a right amount of entertainment in this sport to satisfy a lot of people. And you have familiar names if you aren't in the indie scope of things. I'm Rowdy Wrestling's based off of that to begin with. We just happen to cover a lot of WWE, get you guys in here. So go, find a way of checking it out. I mean, watch wrestling. It's your numero uno place to go if that means anything to you. So go check out this pay-per-view. It's well worth your time. I'm interested to see backstage now what's going to happen with the Hardys and Impact Wrestling. What's going to come of it? Are they going to be able to continue being broken, or are we just going to have to discover a new character? Which Matt has proven in the past. He's able to create a million characters for himself, with the exception of Angelic Diablo. That was just really bad. Thank God that was dropped right away when he came back in 2005. On that note, thank you so much for downloading this week's episode. Programming note: next week we're gonna have we're gonna continue our trek into WrestleMania season, as I've pinned a couple of the boys and girls down from in and around the world of Montreal Pro Wrestling, asking them for their favorite WrestleMania moments or matches or just thoughts. And it's a really great compilation episode that I'm putting together, so you guys can look forward to that next week. After that, we've got the WrestleMania preview episode, all of the WrestleMania things and reviews that we're going to have between Steve, myself, also, Palma is going to be there for some NXT stuff. Just a lot going on, a lot of content for you guys. It's not going to just only be coming out on Tuesdays. It's going to be coming out pretty much almost every day the week of WrestleMania. So look forward to that. Then the week after WrestleMania, we fall back into things, as we're going to have many weeks of really great interviews lined up for all of you. So thank you for downloading this week. Download again next week. I'm Tony Stabile. Have a week. Thanks for downloading today's episode. If you're new around here and like what you've heard, hit that like button and slap the subscribe one too. Leave me a comment and tell me what you thought, and I'll see all of you next time.